Before we start, I would like you to hit that red subscribe button so that you never miss out on any of our videos. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Crime Junkies. 6. The Monster of Miramichi. Alan Joseph Leger, also known as the Monster of Miramichi, was a Canadian rapist, arsonist, and serial killer. He was convicted of the murder of 5 people, as well as arson and rape. Leger's first murder was that of John Glendenning, a store owner in the town of Newcastle, New Brunswick, on June 21, 1986. Leger was at large for a period of 7 months, and during this time committed 4 additional murders in and around the towns of Chatham, Newcastle, and adjoining communities, now part of the city of Miramichi. He murdered Annie Flam on May 29, 1989, and assaulted Flam's sister. He then murdered sisters Linda and Donna Downey on October 13th. Leger set fire to the Downey home before leaving. Finally, he killed Father James Smith on November 16th. 5. The Toy Box Killer. David Parker Ray, also known as the Toy Box Killer, was an American serial killer and rapist who was active in the 1990s. Ray was convicted of kidnapping, rape, and torture, and was suspected of killing multiple women. His crimes were particularly brutal, and he is known for having built a soundproof torture chamber in a trailer on his property, which he called his toy box. Ray would kidnap women and bring them to his torture chamber, where he would rape and torture them for days or weeks at a time. His victims were often drugged and subjected to various forms of torture, including electric shocks, beatings, and sexual abuse. Ray was arrested in 1999 after one of his victims managed to escape and report him to the police. He was sentenced to 223 years in prison for his crimes. 4. The Fritzl Father. The Fritzl case refers to the story of Josef Fritzl, an Austrian man who imprisoned and sexually abused his daughter, Elizabeth, for 24 years. Josef Fritzl began sexually assaulting his daughter, Elizabeth, when she was 11 years old. In 1984, when Elizabeth was 18 years old, Fritzl lured her into the basement of their family home, where he drugged and imprisoned her in a soundproofed room he had built. He repeatedly raped and sexually abused Elizabeth, and she gave birth to 7 children, one of whom died shortly after birth. Fritzl's crimes were discovered in 2008, when one of Elizabeth's children became seriously ill and required hospitalization. Once they arrested Fritzl, they charged him with multiple counts of rape, incest, false imprisonment, and murder by negligence. 3. White Boy Rick. Richard Wershey Jr., also known as White Boy Rick, is a former drug dealer and FBI informant. Wershey became involved in drug trafficking in Detroit during the 1980s and was arrested for cocaine possession when he was 17 years old. Wershey was recruited as an FBI informant when he was 14 years old and helped bring down a corrupt ring of Detroit cops and a string of gang members. Wershey was sentenced to life in prison without parole for drug trafficking in 1988. Wershey's story is the subject of the 2018 movie starring Matthew McConaughey called White Boy Rick. See, Wershey has claimed that the FBI and Detroit police groomed him to be a drug informant and then double-crossed him when he was arrested for cocaine. 2. The Toronto Killer. Bruce McArthur was a Canadian serial killer who murdered 8 men in Toronto's gay village between 2010 and 2017. McArthur was a former mall Santa Claus and a self-employed landscaper. He was arrested on January 18, 2018, and was charged with 8 counts of first-degree murder. McArthur pleaded guilty to all 8 counts of first-degree murder on January 29, 2019, and was sentenced to life imprisonment with no eligibility for parole for 25 years. His victims were mostly immigrants of Middle Eastern or South Asian descent, many of whom were members of the LGBTQ+ community in Toronto. McArthur used his landscaping business to conceal human remains, and 8 bodies were found buried in various locations that were connected to him. His crimes became the largest criminal investigation ever conducted by the Toronto Police Service and also called on the resources of the Ontario Provincial Police, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and other police and forensic services. 1. The Hinterkaifeck Murders. The Hinterkaifeck murders occurred on the evening of March 31, 1922, when 6 residents of a small Bavarian farmstead north of Munich, Germany, were bludgeoned to death with a pickaxe. The 6 victims were Andreas Gruber, age 63, his wife Casilia Gruber, age 72, their widowed daughter Victoria Gabriel, age 35, Victoria's children, Casilia, age 7, and Joseph, age 2, and the maid, Maria Baumgartner, aged 44. The murders remain unsolved to this day, and the case has become one of Germany's most famous unsolved crimes. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our videos in the future. Also, watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you'll love them.